Hello, everyone and no one. And yeah, filming on the same day I filmed the Rhino ones. I'm going to bust out my Dan Wesson 715. Now, I don't have all the extra barrels for this one because this one was actually a prototype variation, not full prototype. They just did it for, I think it was an electric thing or something, because there's some marks on it that wouldn't traditionally be on there. So I also don't have the other barrels for it. And that I kind of want to see if I can find, I'd love to see if I could find an optic mount that doesn't like force me to drill and tap the bottom of it or go along and jab into the vent rails. But I figure I'll take it out. I got some 357 38 specials behind me. I'm just going to load up my pockets with loose rounds, and we're going to see how she shoots at about 13 yards. I've never had an issue with this gun before. I'm just not the biggest fan of its grip, and I'm still trying to find one online that I like until eventually I move. And if I ever buy a 3D scanner and a 3D printer, I may try to 3D scan this thing and do a 3D print of a grip for it to see if I can find something I like. So I'll pause this and then get to some shooting. All right, so said to heck with it. I got 12 rounds of 357 and 38 special that I'm mixing up in my pocket. Oh, that was the fun thing to do with my Rhino for some of the people I would go to the range with the, not this one, with my snub-nosed Rhino. Throw like one or two rounds of 357 Magnum in the snub-nosed Rhino, especially with the old grips it had, the mediums, or I think it might have been the large wood oak ones. And then put the rest to be 38 special, because I'd have people would tell me, oh, they can handle recoil, but they just haven't shot those. So I got 6 rounds 357 Magnum in this. And step over here a little bit and just throw it in single action, see how I'm doing. Did it in single, and yeah, I was fine. Although I am going to walk back over here and grab my glasses, because I did have something come back. Ugh. Took them off because the sun's starting to set. Because when I came to the range today, I didn't know if there was going to be a concealed carry class going on, because the gun club I go to once a month does a concealed carry class. So we're going to try double action for this one the entire time. That's weird. There's a 357. All right, I know I had a late primer strike on one of these. So where are you at? Or not, apparently. I could have swore one of these to just not go. That was weird. And super annoying. So the next 6 rounds are all, seems like I'm getting a few more 357 Magnums. Yeah, that was slightly annoying. Man, I am terrible today. Ah! Man, you get used to freaking semi-autos and you're like, 6 rounds. And you go through them so fast. Man, like when I bust out the Ruger Blackhawk or my GP, it's like when I put the optic on, or when I find a different optic to put on my GP100 that's in 44 special, those ones are going to go fast because the GP100 or the Blackhawk's 357 Magnum in 6 shots, the GP100 is 44 Magnum in 5 shots, so it's just going to be fun, and they're plausibly going to be used for some optic reviews. Oh, like you can tell when it's 357 Magnum and when it's 38 Specials. The 38 Specials just have such a little kick. They're like, ticka. Just reminds me of when me and one of my coworkers who are roommates as well, when we moved out the dorms, we went to a concealed carry class in New Mexico because being stationed there, we could get a New Mexico concealed carry license. And New Mexico did a whole thing of the only way you could, you would do it in a semi-auto and a non-semi-auto. They used to say semi-auto and revolver, but it's semi-auto and non-semi-auto, so you could technically carry a Derringer or whatnot. Not like Michigan does. Michigan is, once you qualify and do everything to do your concealed carry, you carry whatever you want to carry, as long as, you know, that whole thing, you've gone through and passed and have the concealed carry license. New Mexico did it, at least at the time, so this is again like 10 years ago. Whatever caliber you qualified with, you could carry that caliber and below. So most people got at least a 357 Magnum for a non-semi-auto and then a 45 for a semi-auto, because the retired Air Force guy who ran it with his wife, they would loan guns and all you would have to do is supply ammo. So that way you at least had that. Well, I owned a 1911. My buddy owned his Smith & Wesson 460 Magnum, which I want to take mine out, but I'm waiting until summer because I'm going to do a little bit of a tribute to Scott from Kentucky Ballistics. We used his. Now, the only unfortunate thing was the guy did say flat out, hey, just to be safe for whenever we do these, you cannot use remanufactured ammunition, especially if you loaded it yourself. We're both like, crap, we don't have anything. So I had to go and scour, trying to hit 6 different places, and finally found some 45 Colt cowboy action. And we're talking about, this is the lightest shooting round, because his 460 was like the 8 3/8 inch barrel, so it came out to like here. Put my hand further back, even though I'm further. We'll drop the cylinder so that way there's no chance of anything can happen. Trying to be mostly safe. But when you fired it, because it was a lead projectile meant for a cowboy load, it had no kick. And it was hysterical because of just that. But we'll do these last 6 rounds, and then I'll talk about this thing a bit. Yeah, this thing I actually can aim dead center and work with. Now, the reason why I said I want to change the grips, lose these for now, okay, is I'm not the biggest fan of finger grooves. I want to make sure this thing's still recording. Okay, thankfully she's still recording. I'm a little gun shy and hoping I don't lose recording like I did before. But with the weather cooling down, because it's October, I shouldn't have to deal with the phone overheating as it was. But to go back to it, as it has been brought up, since I have broken my hand here, here. So these 2 bones, this fingertip, and these 2 fingers, I do slightly a Spock thing. You know, live long and prosper for all you Trekkies out there who may like that. For those of you who don't like Star Trek, I don't care. I'm not the biggest fan either. So I'm not the biggest fan always of finger grooves because of the way my hand is. But, you know, it does take a lot out of it, especially when shooting some good stout 357 Magnums. Like, you know what? I'm going to do one more thing of shooting. Nah, I was like, I'll go grab those bear loads. I haven't fired them out of this, because the biggest thing that I typically have an issue with for a lot of the Smith & Wesson guns is whenever you get the nice rubber grips from and everything, they still want to leave this back strap open. Now, that works for some people, but you can still see some of the thing from where my hand had the G10 grips mess with it. Before with my, and I'll bring it out eventually as well, my 44 Magnum, so my Smith & Wesson 629 competitor performance. I've bought quite a few guns because, well, I kind of have a bad habit. Maybe it's an addiction. I don't know. But yeah, it's rubber actually rubbed along so much that it caused a blister, then the blister finally broke. And that. So it's always nice when it actually has the back strap that, or the thing that goes around the back strap for that. And it all depends on what caliber it's in. Once you start getting into a lot of the what's considered bigger bore calibers of your 44 plus, that I know some will consider 357 Magnum a big bore caliber. I don't really, because if you're going to consider 357 Magnum a big bore caliber, the bullet diameter is the same as a 9mm, so you'd be considering 9mm big bore caliber, and no one considers a 9mm big caliber. But I digress. This is a gun that I got from my gun dealer back when I was in New Mexico. Went through. It's been a barrel of fun for it. I would still love to see if I could find a different front sight to probably like a fiber optic. I don't mind the blacked out rear as much. I do prefer a fiber optic front sight for something like this. I mean, I'd love to just get a night sight, but I'm not going to carry this like I would anything else. But it is just a fun gun. Now, one of the bigger differences between it and like a Smith & Wesson is your Smith & Wesson's going to have its cylinder release can be back here. You push forward. Your Chiappa Rhino actually has a lever. Your GP100s have a button you push. This one actually has a thing up here. Depending on what Taurus model you get, they've actually got a thing that you push forward and have to do that. The Raging Hunters typically have that. Hopefully that was all on screen. And I do also like that they recess the cylinders so it can let it sit a little tighter, so it makes the gap here a little looser, or not a little looser, a little less visible. But one of these days, I'm going to go out hunting, and I'm going to take this thing out, and I'm going to get a deer with it, just like in the next week or so. I'm going to try to get out, depending on how things go, and I'm going to sight in my Ruger Blackhawk that I was able to get the EGW mount for, and I put that Votautu on here once I realized which screws I was supposed to use because I was being stupid, because, as I've stated before, I'm a mostly functioning idiot. Yeah. The nice thing about the Blackhawks over your typical Colts is you don't actually have to go to a half cock. You can just open this and it spins. But that'll be all for today. You all have yourself a great day.